Hello everyone! Miguel Montesanti is a Brazilian police officer from an elite squad. He and his colleagues have been working for a long time to expose the most influential corrupt officials. Despite finding evidence that pointed to the governor, he still escapes justice. The rotten system protects only those who pass the laws, not the ones who follow them. After enduring a devastating personal loss, Miguel is consumed by anger and vengeance, driving him to the path of war. In Brazil, protesters have gathered outside the government building, outraged by the corrupt governor, Sandro Correia. The situation gets out of hand, and people throw rocks and incendiary mixtures into the building, and the governor panics and hides under a desk. A man with a black mask on his face pulls him out from there. A few days before that, a special squad of police officers arrived at the governor's residence while he was peacefully enjoying his coffee. Sandro is arrested and taken to the police department for questioning. Amidst the blinding flashes of cameras from journalists, Sandro is accused of embezzling funds that were intended for the healthcare system. Hospitals are ill-equipped, understaffed, and people wait months for surgeries. In order to track down the lost money, an operation dubbed Lymphoma was launched. Police officers Edu and Miguel are in the interrogation room with the governor. They tell him that he has been arrested for attempting to obstruct an investigation. The police intercepted an audio recording of his phone conversation that proves it. In the recording, Sandro threatens to take brutal revenge on the snitches.
Bribe the federal superior court, pay whoever you have to pay, and bury the rest.
The governor is clearly taken aback by that, but he remains silent until his lawyer shows up and interrupts the interrogation. Miguel and his partner don't find out anything, and they fear that the case will be swept under the rug. In the meantime, Oliveira, the governor's lawyer, assures him that everything is under control and Sandro will be released soon. Meanwhile, Antero Gomez, his partner in illicit activities, is already in a meeting with the Brazilian Minister of the Interior. Sandro chomps down on the food that was brought to him and declares he would start a witch hunt to get those he failed to bribe. Miguel goes home, where he spends time with his young daughter Alicia. Miguel is divorced from the kid's mother, Isabella. Alicia likes to listen to music from her iPod and watch soccer. It's a shame that her mother wouldn't let her go to the stadium to see a game with her own eyes. But this time, Alicia manages to talk her into it. The next day, the head of the department congratulates his colleagues on the successful arrest of the governor as part of Operation Lymphoma. As the governor awaits transfer to a correctional facility, they are tasked with evicting individuals who refuse to vacate the rundown building. Reluctantly, the partners set out to obey the order. Afterwards, Miguel rushes to Alicia's house to go to a soccer game together with her. He gives her a Brazilian national team jersey, and Isabella takes a photo of them. They are late, so they take a cab. But soon, because of traffic, Miguel decides to get out and continue on foot. As they approach the end of the street, they see the stadium, but the noise from the crowd is growing louder. Miguel tries to stay closer to his daughter. Suddenly, among other sounds, there is a distinct sound of a shot. The bullet hits Alicia in the chest. It's impossible to figure out where it came from. Miguel is shocked, but he pulls himself together and carries his daughter to the nearest hospital. She's bleeding, but still alive. The doctors immediately take her to the intensive care unit. Miguel is not allowed inside, but he can't wait outside and goes in anyway. He sees a horrifying scene. There isn't enough space for patients. They lie in the halls on whatever they can find. Both children and elderly individuals are suffering without any medical attention, and it's uncertain if they can survive without immediate treatment. Alicia, too, lies in the midst of this chaos. An orderly is trying unsuccessfully to stop her bleeding. All the operation rooms are busy, and the girl dies in her father's arms without regaining consciousness. Isabella arrives at the hospital. Miguel is still in shock and can't tell her anything.
Where is my daughter? Give me back my daughter! Miguel, just give her back to me!
With a smug grin on his face, the governor strides out of the police department right after he gives a statement to the press. He's released from custody by order of the Supreme Court. Sandro announces he's going to run for presidency, promising to increase the budget for the state hospitals. In the evening, Edu visits his grief-stricken friend. He has done his best to find evidence at the crime scene, but so far, there are no clues. Miguel takes his daughter's iPod and goes out for a jog. Upon witnessing the governor's address and the discontented crowd of protesters demanding justice, Miguel decides to join the protest and takes a step forward. For that, he gets hit on the head with batons. Miguel defends himself and gets tear-gassed. As he starts to suffocate, a gas mask is tossed to him from the crowd. He quickly dons the red-tinted glass mask and emerges as a leader, rallying the protesters to follow him. One of the girls films it on her phone camera. Miguel takes the gun from the policeman and gets inside the building. The guards take the governor away and hold the defense, but the masked Awakener breaks into the office where he's hiding. Sandro tries to bribe the man who attacked him, but Miguel pushes him onto the table and beats him savagely. He keeps hitting him, even as the governor loses consciousness. After having his revenge, the man returns home, where he sews up the wounds on his body. In the morning, Edu and the others set out to find the governor's killer. They bring the detained protesters to the department and confiscate their cell phones. Miguel arrives at work for the first time since the tragedy and is spotted by a girl who captured his fight with the cops on her camera. Miguel meets her gaze and realizes he's in trouble. He volunteers to interrogate the girl. Nina's file tells him that she's a hacker and her mother is in jail right now on fraud charges. She worked as an accountant, and the daughter claims she was simply framed. However, Miguel talks to her sternly and doesn't let her relax. Nina writes a message on a piece of paper saying that she knows Miguel's secret and she has video proof on her phone. She also writes a password so Miguel could get full access to her phone. After the governor's death, a small group of oligarchs in the ruling party need a new presidential candidate they can control. They gather at a restaurant to discuss their candidate. Antero Gomez offers to nominate his son, who has not yet had a criminal record. Unlike most of those who gathered here, the others have to agree, as Antero guarantees that he can shut down Operation Lymphoma. He is the only one who has influence over the Minister of the Interior. If he fails to shut down the operation, all their corrupt schemes will soon be exposed.
I can't believe our destinies rest in the hands of that lesbian.
I thought our destinies rested in the hands of God, Pastor.
In the police department, Miguel frees Nina, but first, he takes her phone from the evidence locker. The girl returns to her job at the comic book store. Her boss threatens to fine her next time for skipping work. Nina immediately sits down at her laptop and learns from the news that Miguel's daughter has recently died. That same evening, Isabella visits her ex-husband to share their grief, but he won't open the door for her. Instead, Miguel finds Nina and persuades her to get into his car. The girl is scared, but the man assures her that he just needs help. He gives Nina Sandro's laptop, which he stole from the evidence room. They manage to find the names of the officials and businessmen with whom he corresponded. However, the emails only contain innocent pictures and don't appear to have any discussions of criminal plans. Nina discovers that the information encoded in the graphic actually conceals all the confidential data. Miguel removes weapons and equipment from his apartment and finds an abandoned basement where he sets up his lair. He hangs photos of his future victims on the wall. Over the next few days, a wave of high-profile murders sweeps through the city. The masked man leaves no clues behind. People have strikingly different opinions on the Awakener. Some see him as a hero, and some regard him as a psychopath and serial killer. Miguel's clueless boss is furious that the masked vigilante outsmarts the city's entire police force. Miguel stops by Nina's store to ask for help in finding the last missing link in the chain of corruption. The girl attempts to dissuade him from his violent ways and choose alternative ways of opposing the system instead, but Miguel intimidates her into obedience. Edu stays late at work and begins to suspect that the vigilante has military or police training. Miguel tries to change the subject. Nina visits her mother in prison. The conditions there are terrible, and the daughter promises to get the woman out. The mother has no clue what her daughter is involved in and thinks her promise means nothing. In the evening, Nina tells Miguel about an upcoming meeting in a skyscraper where the last member of the corrupt elite will be. To get inside and bypass the security systems, Nina will lead Miguel through an earpiece and disable the cameras as he makes his way towards his target. As Miguel gears up and heads out, Edu figures out who will be the Awakener's next target. Edu heads to the skyscraper and tries to call Miguel, but cannot reach him. The minister arrives to meet Gomez and his accomplices. They bribe the woman to stop the lymphoma operation. Miguel sneaks into the foyer, but runs into Edu. He manages to escape from his partner, who wounds the fleeing Miguel. The bullet goes through, and to stitch up the wound on his shoulder, the man summons Nina to his lair.
It's no different than sewing a shirt.
Do I look like I know how to do that?
He persuades the girl to act as his surgeon. Now Miguel knows that Antero Gomez was in charge of the whole scheme, and he wants to hunt him down. Meanwhile, his boss reports to Gomez's right-hand man, Oliveira, that someone has hacked into the tracking system. They manage to find out the address from which the hacking attack originated. The following day, Miguel and Edu submit a report detailing the connections between the Awakener's victims and the missing budget funds. However, their boss orders them to halt the investigation. Operation Lymphoma was shut down personally by the minister. The frustrated partners vent their anger by taking it out on the target practice. Miguel says that he couldn't answer the phone because he was seeing his ex-wife. He hides his shoulder injury and shoots the paper target right in its head.
No matter how you slice it, killing's our job.
Our job is to uphold the law and protect people.
Gomez and his son entertain guests from various political parties at their home in the evening. Antero Jr. is nervous and drunk. He doesn't feel he can handle the role of president and wants out. His father speaks to him privately and tries to be supportive. He manages to find the right words to instill confidence in the boy. The oligarch didn't pay much attention to his son when he was young, but now They have a shared purpose and an opportunity to make up for the time they lost. Miguel watches this scene through the scope of a sniper rifle. He points the gun at one man and then another. But in the end, it's Gomez Jr. who is shot down. Now, Gomez will experience the agony of losing a child in his own arms as well. But Gomez doesn't grieve for long. He hides the fact of the murder so that no one can establish a connection between the Awakener's victims and corrupt schemes. The whole country feels sorry for the father who lost his son in a swimming pool accident. The oligarch is running for president. Oliveira finds the comic book store where the hacker attack came from. Nina is not at her workplace, and the killer puts a bullet through her boss instead. The girl finds the corpse of the man and runs away, realizing that they could come for her too. She makes it to Miguel's lair. Oliveira and his men follow her and also enter the basement. In the meantime, Edu meets Isabella. She confirms his suspicions. Miguel has never seen her since the day of the tragedy.
He thinks he's the only one suffering. He's convinced no one can understand just what he's going through.
Miguel fights off the bandits who are chasing Nina. He kills all of them but Oliveira, who takes Nina hostage. He offers the Awakener a deal. If he wants Nina to stay alive, he has to kill Gomez's rival for the presidency. He has to do it at the upcoming debates to be held this evening. Oliveira takes Nina with him. Miguel leaves too, and his lair is soon discovered by Edu. He finds a diagram of the Awakener's victims and his daughter's iPod and shows it to Isabella. It's now obvious to both of them who's hiding under the mask. After learning that the Awakener is after Gomez, Edu and his team are on high alert during the presidential debate. Miguel knocks out the guards and makes his way to the bridge, from where he can kill both candidates. Edu finds him and stops the man from carrying out his plan. The partners fight and point their guns at each other. Edu asks Miguel to take his mask off.
Think all the people who die because of their bullshit and tell me they don't deserve the same.
What gives you the right?
Meanwhile, Nina, who is being held hostage by Oliveira, manages to find a light bulb. After breaking it, she wounds her captor and fights him. Oliveira tries to shoot the girl, but accidentally shoots himself instead. Nina escapes, but Miguel doesn't know this and is still determined to save the girl and continue the Awakener's mission.
It's are going to bring back your daughter, and it's not going to fill that hole she left.
The man doesn't listen to his partner, takes his rifle, and aims. A shot was fired, but none of the candidates are dead. It was Edu who shot Miguel in the arm and prevented him from pulling the trigger. Miguel is escorted to the department in handcuffs. The news reports that Awakener has been arrested while trying to kill a presidential candidate. The fact that she may be involved in embezzlement has raised suspicions, and Antero Gomez is emerging as a frontrunner in the upcoming election. Isabella visits her ex-husband, who has been ignoring her all this time. He believes he was doing the right thing. Alicia would be horrified at what is happening to Miguel. Maybe it's good that she's no longer with them.
To see what her father's become.
Miguel realizes that he was instrumental in Antero Gomez's election victory. The deputy head of the police department comes to his cell and brings him out for questioning. Miguel is severely beaten. His boss explains that corruption is an element of the system that can't simply be eliminated, and that it keeps the state machine running. He leaves, ordering officers to finish the Awakener. One officer intentionally kills another officer with the plan to frame Miguel for the murder. Miguel's death will be portrayed as self-defense by the police, who will claim he was attempting to escape. The officer continues to taunt Miguel, but the latter manages to knock out the gun from his hand and choke the officer with handcuffs. Miguel takes all the weapons he can carry from the police department, not forgetting his mask. He heads to the Parliament building, where Gomez and his henchmen are celebrating their victory. On his drive, he imagines that Alicia is sitting in the back seat talking to him. The Awakener reaches his destination, leaving behind piles of dead bodies. He finds the office where Gomez is hiding and kills his cronies. The president fires back with a revolver, but hits a bulletproof vest and only lightly wounds Miguel. His words that the Awakener's efforts are pointless are interrupted by a shot that silences Gomez for good. Miguel is attacked by the guards, but he activates the explosives in the car in the underground parking lot. The entire building goes up in flames. When clearing the rubble the next day, rescuers find only a black mask. However, the Awakener still hunts those who think they are above the law. As always, check out the name of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, tell us in the comments, who do you think killed Miguel's daughter? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to see even more cool recaps.